Hello, one and all. Kapla. How is everyone? Uh, so, it's more Lower Decks. It is time for Lower Decks. It's Klingon as hell. Yes, farewell to farms. Interesting title, interesting episode. Get to learn more about the Vulcan. I almost did it again. The Klingon culture in this one, and also Miglamo's culture. It was a good episode. I enjoyed it, actually. I found it quite enjoyable for various reasons, and hopefully you did as well. So we're here tonight to talk about that, of course. So let me know what you guys think. Super chat in if you're able to. I really appreciate that. Hit the like button. Just thank you for joining me and talking about it. Make sure as well that you're subscribed to the channel. Not only that, but you head on over to Trekyards tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a complete review and breakdown of this episode in its entirety. You know you want to, so you might as well. Join us if you can. We'd appreciate it. Anyway, let's see. Ozzy's here. Return of the Klingons. Does this episode tie in the first episode? Ties into all the episodes. All the episodes have talked about interdimensional rifts. So yes. BJ, I remember a Star Trek novel long ago featuring a Klingon farming world. The Klingons won this world in competition with Federation Organian treaty that the Enterprise helped. Ah, interesting. I always just think of the episode of Enterprise where J.G. Hertzler, who's playing another Klingon, and he tells Archer, well, he's playing a lawyer Klingon, and he says, "You don't think we're all warriors, do you?" I thought that was great. It's great to see the farming aspect of things in this one. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and hopefully you guys did as well. I'd like to thank BJ for throwing in a $1 super chat. Amazing, thank you. A tiny little seed, indeed. Yeah, I think the Klingon stuff was better than the Miglamo stuff. Tendi and Rutherford were very much sidelined this episode. Again, no T'Lyn, but Boimler, gotta admire the beard because that's what he's calling it, and he's got a mustache now, so he's getting there. He's getting to his desired look, which is great. Mariner was good. And yeah, some of the Klingonisms were very interesting as well. I do like that the Klingon farm very much resembled Quill's farm from The Mandalorian. So much so even the title card was similar to The Mandalorian, and those opening scenes. Also, one of my favorite things in this episode was kind of learning more about blood wine production. At first, I thought they were farming Gach with the worms, but then you see a bucket of worms getting dumped into a large vat, which he then stepped on, much like grapes, and you see the wine coming out. That's cool. I kind of like that. And it's gross at the same time. I always kind of wondered about Klingon blood wine, so it's good to get more of that story. I assume it's fermented for a while, put in barrels and aged, but it's still interesting. And yeah, also a lot of Klingon architecture. You get the Klingon Oversight Committee. 2 biker Klingons. I mean, that's kind of cool. And it ends in murder. Got the pain stick ritual, which is great. I love the solution from Boimler of if we all get on his back, then the 30,000 watt or voltage charge will be distributed through all of us and not kill us. That's one of the reasons that that ritual needs a group of 4 individuals. That was neat. But yeah, interesting too to find out that that particular one hasn't been invoked in like 300 years to regain the captaincy. But, and also references to Kalis. Kalis killing Feklar with thorns. Feklar, of course, we know from Devil's Due, where Ardra becomes Feklar. And at the end, when the brother was being crushed by the bone or the horn attachments that he was going to put on the ship or the shuttle, whatever it was, saying, "I can see Kalis, the original one, the one that did impersonations or did impressions." It's great, and of course referring to the original one because there's a new one that was a clone of Kalis. But anyway, there's some great stuff in there. The Megalomos stuff, not so much. I don't know if they were trying to make some kind of commentary on like hate channels that just all they focus on is the hate, so much so that they can't see any of the good in anything. With the mental condition that the birds had of not being able to taste, because they're so used to criticizing food or looking for blandness that that's all they taste. They can't taste anything else. But it kind of rang true for me for a lot of YouTubers that only focus on the negative things. I don't know if that was the case, if that was the intention. Felt like it to me. I could be wrong. Maybe I am. It's happened before that I've been wrong. I mean, not very often, but anyway. But yeah, like I said, Tendi and Rutherford seemed a little bit sidelined. And with, we're almost at the halfway mark. Next episode is the halfway mark for the season. And I love that they're maintaining the whole story arc of the interdimensional fissures, and that was what had to be studied, and learning, in fact, that they are not naturally occurring. They are made by someone. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. It's very much similar to last season with the ships being destroyed or basically kidnapped for Nova Fleet. I really like the interdimensional thing. Now, it was promised from Jack Quaid and Mike McMahon that there will be cameos that will surprise people. I kept expecting a cameo in this one. Didn't get it. I mean, if you're cameoing your own creations, then yes, because we had some returning Klingons and stuff. But other than that, I just can't wait to see more detailed stories with a parallel version of another character that we've seen before, like a legacy character. So that's kind of where I sit with that. Mellow Canuck, they showed their Tuduj. Yeah, their little bone spur things on their feet, which made me wonder. I mean, you do see the Klingon boots that have the spike thing, but how do you get your foot into the boot with that horn thing? You would need a slit all the way down to that, which they don't have. And I'm sure a lot of Klingons choose to get those cut off. I believe Worf did. He, I seem to recall we've seen his feet before in TNG, and he actually has like a scar there where that would have been, that it was removed, which is interesting. So, cosmetic choice, whether you remove it or not. Is it kind of like circumcision? I don't know. Anyway. BJ says novel was Star Trek, the original series, Day of Honor, #4, Treaty's Law by Dean Wesley Smith and Christine Catherine Rush. Cygni Beta is an M-class planet ideal for farming. The Federation wants it, but the Klingon Empire has the stronger claim. Oh, I do remember that, actually. I do remember seeing that book and yeah. I remember reading that on the back of the book. Captain Kirk of the U.S. Enterprise hates to lose the planet, especially to his old adversary, Commander Kor. Their mutual antagonism turns into an uneasy alliance. However, when yet another alien fleet attacks both the Klingons and the USS Enterprise, Dun dun dun. Sean O'Neill is here. The O'Neill Core. Hit that like button. Yes, hit the like button if you haven't already. We have 10 likes with 16 people watching, so make sure you hit the like button, guys. PJ says I did. I'm like number one. Not a band account, $2. Feklar made no sense. Kang said they have no devil. Well, they didn't say it was the devil necessarily. I mean, Ardra, of course, was trying to represent that by showing different devils from different cultures. It could be the closest thing that the Klingons have to a devil. And, you know, Kang might just not have believed in such things. So it's not that it doesn't make sense. It's perfectly fine. I don't know. Terrence is here. Hello, Terrence. BJ, it was an episode that did feature a lot of Dr. Meglamo. I did like seeing more of his culture planet. Has been a blank space. Yeah, they call it, I forget the name of the planet or the species now. Anyway, they call it their nesting planet. Terrence Childs, episode The Measure of a Man is a great episode, and really makes a great speech. What the fuck does that have to do with anything, Terrence? Trekyard is here. Hey, Neil Hammersmith. Hail Kaon. Hail Kaon, I guess. But yeah, the Megalodon stuff wasn't that great, honestly. That's the other thing. When you're trying a dish, why would you pick off one of the berries on the very top and like, oh, it's awful? Don't you need to actually take bites of the actual pieces of food? Same with the steak, whatever they had. I forget the exact meat that they had on the Cerritos, and the macaroni and cheese with the breadcrumb crust. Maybe try eating that. Would be my take on things. Also, oh my god, replacing the oyster stuff with manure, like literally this is shit. What? And yeah, you see Tendi turn her back to the camera for like a brief second, but it's like, so it just seemed a little bit unbelievable. But I love Captain Freeman. I love that she stands up for him. It's like, no, these guys are assholes. Just let him have his win. Freeman was great in this. I really do like Captain Freeman. Need to see more of her. She's a really nice lady, by the way. We met her in Vegas, and she wanted us to sign our Trekyards print that we gave her. So, yeah, she probably threw it in the garbage. I don't know. BJ says, I wish Star Trek mined the old novels for story ideas. I remember a great time travel novel with the Enterprise in an old timeline due to dinosaur descendants redirecting the asteroid using the Guardian of Forever. That's cool, but I think they did kind of reuse that with the Voth, right? How they escaped Earth and are the descendants of dinosaurs. And the problem with that is then you got to pay that author royalties for using their story idea, or you can get sued. It's a whole thing. There are a lot of great stories or novels, and would love to see a lot of those brought to life, but that's what your imagination's for. You read the book and you just picture what's going on. So yeah, that's a slippery slope. You can't really be doing that. And that's one of the reasons that, for example, in Enterprise, they created the Xindi, which have the arboreal Xindi, the aquatic Xindi, the flying Xindi, all the insectoid Xindi. That already existed. That already existed in Starfleet Battles, the game. It was called the Interstellar Concordium, which is the same thing, where there was 5 different species, essentially, that made up one faction, or one Federation analog. I don't know. But they were from the same homeworld or the same system. I think it was the same system. And they also had an insectoid. They had cat-like people. So it was basically the same as the Xindi. But in Enterprise, they didn't use the Interstellar Concordium. Instead, they just decided to make the Xindi, which was the same thing anyway, just with different names. And that's a good way to get around not paying royalties to anybody that came up with the idea or getting in trouble legally. So Yeah, it's fine. They had a bit too much fun with the shit puns, but it was perfect. Perfect Lower Decks. Samuel Smears, I think it really was cool how the Megalumos story paralleled the Klingon story, but was something more silly. Showed how every Trek species is going through a version of people finding their own way. Yeah. Um, I just wish that Rutherford and Tendi played a bigger part with the Mixlamos thing. I do love Tendi's chopping skills, assassin training. Was kind of funny. Rutherford didn't do much of anything, honestly. I did like the reference to replicated food, though, because yes, if you're a connoisseur or like a taste tester, um, it's been mentioned a few times in Star Trek that replicated food just isn't the same, and the real stuff is much better, right? So that was a nice little reference, and I figured that with the hogfish that they created, that it would be, well, this is fine and all, but you used replicated ingredients, because we've talked about that many times. Like, theoretically, if you ordered chicken soup from a replicator, every bowl of chicken soup you get would be the exact same on the molecular level, right? So if you want a really good replicated experience, you'd think you'd add some randomization in there so that you could randomize the amount of sodium, randomize the amount of noodles, randomize the amount of butter or whatever, right? Like, so that every bowl tasted slightly different while still being the same thing. I think that would be something that would be interesting. Or just replicate the separate ingredients. Like, let's say you want to make a salad, right? And if you just order a salad from a replicator, you just get a pre-mixed salad, which would be the same every time, unless you have it on randomized. Or you replicate the tomato, you replicate the lettuce, you replicate the carrots, you replicate the cucumber, you replicate the ingredients for the ranch sauce or the ranch dressing. And then with each of those ingredients, you chop them up, cook them, make them your own way. Yes, they're still replicated ingredients, but it's in a different variation to what the replicator would make, even though it's replicated basic ingredients. It's a whole discussion about replicators that we've had on Trekyards a few times. So if it opens up a lot of questions, but it's a very good discussion. So anyway, that went off on a tangent. Trek or not, the issue with the sharing of the pain stick voltage makes no sense, lol, as they would all experience the same voltage. Yes, but it's fine. Phoenix Gundam, I want them to go full on in the multiverse stuff, like T'Lyn as the Vulcanian, Roddenberry's original concept for Vulcans, which were just logical demon people with bat wings. That would be cool. BJ says, paying royalties is better than paying J.J. Abrams. A lot of Disney Star Wars stuff is mined from the novels, Grand Admiral Thrawn, but Lucasfilm owns all the rights, unlike Star Trek franchise. Well, exactly. When Disney bought Star Wars, they bought all the rights to that kind of stuff too, because that was all under the Lucasfilm umbrella. So they are allowed to mine those books for the material. And don't get me wrong, Star Trek does that all the time. There are books that have been out for years that all of a sudden a new episode of Trek will come out and it's the same story with all the names changed, maybe the conclusion's a little different, but it's the same story. So they do that to some degree. It is kind of hard to come up with new ideas that haven't been used in some form. So it's likely you'll find something about something that's similar somewhere else, if that makes any sense. So Phoenix says basically T'Lyn is a Baphomet with a lower decks uniform and her voice. BJ, I'd like to see a series featuring an alt timeline with a Klingon-dominated Earth featuring both collaborators and resistance. Terrence Childs, how did the Federation replicators work anyway? We've already talked about it. Smart Smears, while watching the slow version of the opening theme over incredible views of Kronos, all I could think of was we were truly losing such a special show. Yes, and as I mentioned earlier, those are very reminiscent of The Mandalorian and Quill's farm. There's one episode in particular that has the same shots, the same kind of building setup and configuration, the same kind of sunrise or sunset, whatever that was, with the ship. It's very much The Mandalorian inspired. So, and I have no problem with that. Phoenix says, it is odd replicated food is either described as indigestible from the real thing or it's fake. Indistinguishable from the real thing or it's fake. Trek or not, replicators work on the basis of matter as energy so it can be repurposed. Yes, Terrence, if you really want me to get into it, it's basically works on the same principle as the holodecks and the transporter. Essentially, it's a transport system. All waste on the ship gets converted into its contingent parts of matter, which are stored in matter storage tanks. And then when the replicator needs to make something, it extracts the energy or the molecular whatever it is from those tanks and basically converts it into the food you're requesting. So then you eat it, your waste gets redone, re-separated, and it moves on. Vance kind of explained it really super simple in Discovery. You know, it's a nice apple, this one, but it's just our shit. Pretty good for shit. Because all matter is made up of the same matter, right? So just in different configurations. So that's how the replicator works. That's how the waste system on the Enterprise works. It all works together. So yeah, that might seem gross, but it's not, because it's just the way that the matter is structured and organized. Dot, are you okay? Hold on a second. Okay. Dot's having a bit of issue with her leg. Hold on. You okay, sweetie? Hey. Hey, Dot. You okay? There you go. Yeah. Just lay down, sweetie. There you go. Sorry, guys. Dot's not looking so great. Just lay down. You're fine. Lola, stop. Sorry, guys. Okay. You're not far from replicated food. 3D printed on a molecular level. Right now, we have the Impossible Burger from Burger King. Tastes like beef to me. I call it Mars Colony food. That's just making meat out of things that aren't meat. So, but yes, there are 3D printers that they're working on 3D technology that can actually print food, essentially. Smart Smears, also based on the trailers and the pacing of these seasons, I assume next week we get the Harry Kim episode. Possibly. Trek or not also ties into my idea for replicator regenerative hull armor using the transporters. That should be a future Starfleet tech. Yeah. That would be cool. You could definitely incorporate something like that. Marked Ashamed. Marine Alver. $2. Thank you so much. Just give me a TV series of a Klingon bird of prey. Sure. I don't know how interesting that would be necessarily, but yeah, there is a demand for things like that, seeing things from the Klingon or the Romulan perspective. I guess that's cool. Um, sorry, guys, I'm just kind of worried about Dot. Oh, there we go. Now she looks more comfortable. Okay, Lola, stop. Dot's like a 14-year-old Chihuahua, so she's an old lady, and pretty sure she's going deaf, among other things, and just kind of worried about her, the way she was acting a second ago. Okay, stop. Okay, just lay down. BJ says, yeah, great hero ship, right size for small cast, crew and cast. Yeah, I mean, Klingon Bird of Prey in Star Trek 3, you know, a dozen officers and men. Could definitely pull that off. Mark Deshamed says, I'm bored of Starfleet. An entire series of a Klingon crew would be more interesting, in my honest opinion. I disagree. Um, I don't think it's a bad idea necessarily. There are comics from IDW actually that have like all Andorian stories, or all Gorn stories, or all Vulcan stories, right? Um, I think they're interesting in small bites, but a whole series, I just wouldn't really. I mean, I'd obviously watch it. I'd obviously get interested in it. If it was really good, I would enjoy it. But it's nothing that I'm looking for. That I would look forward to. I like Starfleet. I like that take on things. So, but that's me personally. So, what do I know? BJ says, like Mandalorian series versus Jedi's. Again, how far can you take that though? Phoenix, oddly, the anime Banner of the Stars is the only Trek style show that makes aliens the main characters. Don't know why actual Trek hasn't done it yet. Anime Banner of the Stars. Don't know what that means. Trek or not, I would love to see a Raven class show where they modded the Raven into a badass salvage ship. Mike H. Nice seeing character growth of Boimler, and they aren't just coasting to the end. Yeah, I love the facial hair. I love the mustache. I love the addition of the growing of the beard. And definitely becoming more of the officer he wants to be. I loved that he was into the Klingon um, cultural minutia. Typical Boimler, and he's feeling more confident, and I love the build up to that. Like hopefully by the end of the series, or the season and series, I guess now, he has the beard like his parallel universe counterpart, because it was a good look, honestly, and yeah. Smart Smears, if you had to get a series from a different species, what would you choose? I'm leaning Orion or Vulcan. I think if Lower Decks didn't have to bring Tendi back fast, a series on the Orion Civil War sounded fun. If I had to pick a race, I would love to see something from the actual Gorn perspective, you know, the arena Gorn, not the fucking Strange New Worlds one. Romulan, though. I think Romulan would be very interesting. More so than Klingon. I think we've been inundated with a lot of Klingon stuff. Like, we've learned a lot about the Klingon culture. We haven't learned as much about the Romulans. And I think the Romulans... Actually, you know what I would really love to see? Is like a mini-series, maybe 6-part, of the Vulcan-Romulan split. When the Vulcans kind of cast out the Romulans, and the Romulans had to go in these antiquated starships to another system, and they founded Romulus and Remus, the twin planets, and setting up their culture. Because if you go into Starfleet battles and things like that, like I've said before, they didn't actually have warp drive, the Romulans. They had to steal that technology, and a lot of their technology was like that at first, just because they were thrown out of Vulcan, essentially, for being aggressive and not picking up the new practices of peaceful coexistence. So yes, the Romulans are an offshoot of the Vulcans. I would love to see something like that. That might be kind of interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to think of another species that would be good. Foley, the Tholians perspective. There you go. I don't know. Put in your favorites. We could kind of talk about it in, in the chat. I was going to say in the chat, but I would just talk about it here. Put your ideas in the chat and we'll see. Marked ashamed. I'm surprised the Orville didn't parody the Treaty of Algeron yet. Terrence Childs, have any episodes of the Orville? Haven't seen any episodes of the Orville in so long. Well, it's because there's no new ones, right? They are apparently going back to filming in January, according to Scott Grimes. He was at STLV and let that news. Well, he announced that news. So there will be another season, at least. And I would suggest going back and rewatching the Orville. Sylvia and I did that beginning of the summer. We went back and watched all of the Orville, and it's really good. It really holds up. It's such a good show. And I really wish there was a new Star Trek show that was like the Orville, because the Orville is so Star Trek. It's great. So anyway. PJ says, well, I don't need 24 episodes, something like Good Omens. 6 episodes. It'd be my ship choice for a Section 31 show set in the Lost Era. I don't want a Section 31 show. I don't care. It's a Section 31 movies. Section 31 is so overblown now. Everyone knows about Section 31. It was so much better when it was just Deep Space Nine. And this guy named Sloan comes on and talks about Section 31. And it's like, this first time we're hearing about this. Exactly, because it's a fucking secret. Or is Sloan just crazy and this used to be a thing? Doesn't exist anymore because the Federation ideals have changed over the last couple centuries. And and he thinks Section 31 exists. It's a more interesting premise to me to have Sloan think that he's Section 31 when that really isn't a thing. And it's kind of the vibe DS9 gave off. And then they went and fucked it up. And they included it in Enterprise, where Reed was a member of Section 31. And then it fucking snowballed. And then it's just Section 31 everywhere. Look at my badge. I got a black badge. Don't show nobody. Don't tell nobody that I got this. So Section 31 is overblown. Don't give a flying fuck about Section 31. I think Starfleet Intelligence would be a better thing, and Starfleet Intelligence and Section 31 are different. So I think a Starfleet Intelligence show would be much more interesting than Section 31. Kind of still keeping in the guidelines of what the Federation allows instead of being totally rogue about things like Section 31. I think Section 31 is a stupid fucking idea. It worked in Deep Space Nine very well. Sort of worked in Enterprise, and then it just got, here, it's Section 31 in every fucking show we're going to make now. I wouldn't be surprised if Section 31 shows up in Strange New Worlds this upcoming season. Which is just dumb. But that's my personal take. Phoenix says, if they say TOS and Strange New Worlds Gorns are different due to another augment virus, I will bust out laughing. It wouldn't be an augment virus, like we've talked about, because the Strange New Worlds ones are so much like xenomorphs from Alien. It would be interesting if they're a subspecies of Gorn or another species that developed in the same system, and that the Gorn and them are actually fighting. This Gorn encroached into Federation territory, does its thing with impregnating or killing Federation officers to reproduce and feed its young and all that. And then the real Gorn step in and go, guys, we're the Gorn. Those things are not the Gorn. They've been saying they're the Gorn. They're not. We are. And they're giving us a bad name. That'd be great. Like I said, there's an IDW comic that's full of, like, there's 6 or 7 stories in it that are all from a Gorn perspective. And it's really cool because it's the actual Gorn that we've seen in Lower Decks, that we've seen in TOS, that we saw in Enterprise, that we've seen everywhere. except for Strange New Worlds. So, and they're great aliens, don't get me wrong. The Gorn from Strange New Worlds are interesting aliens and a good foe for the Federation or Starfleet, but they're just not the fucking Gorn, let's be honest. Smart Smears. Underrated part of the episode. Mariner using diplomacy and her abilities to get the info she wanted. Very Captain Freeman, but with her own spin on it. Subtle character growth. Also, yes, Strange New Worlds Gorns are bad. Yes. Mariner needed to get into the Klingon space to check out this parallel universe fissure, and didn't have permission, so she went to check on her old friend, get his captaincy back, because she needed a captain, a Klingon captain, to get, yeah, I think it worked really well. And it wasn't overplayed, it wasn't ridiculous, it was very well done. Romulans always get the short stick. There was a great novel I read as a teenager in the 1990s on Vulcan, Split, and the founding of the Romulan Empire. Terrence Childs, when you join Starfleet, you are not paid. I don't know how the economy of Star Trek works. No, officially you're not paid, no. A Ferengi sitcom, there you go. Paul Hitchcock, to piggyback on BJ's comment about the Lost Era, what are the odds we see the Probert Ambassador class in Section 31 in the TV movie? Fucking zero. Because they're not going to use any existing designs. They're going to make new Discovery designs if they're going to do a new ship, but I don't think they're going to do that. Smart Smears, I haven't seen Enterprise, but making Section 31 exist at the beginning of the Federation was a bad idea and net negative. BJ, I don't care about Section 31 either, but if I was doing a Black Ops mission, a Bird of Prey would be cool. Disco wrecked Section 31. They are now CIA. Even Boimler now knows of it. Trekyardians says they are the Gorn with two ends. Mike H. How about an animated miniseries by the Lower Decks writers set in the Mirror Universe showing how Enterprise, TOS, Next Gen, and DS9 incursions change the Mirror Universe for good and bad? No. There's already some funkiness going on with the Terran Empire in the Mirror Universe, based on the DS9 appearances of it, and based on all the other accounts of it. I don't want to see a Mirror Universe show either. As much as I like alternate reality stories and time travel and stuff, I just don't want to see that. There's enough of people being shitty to each other in the real world. I don't need to see that on a show constantly. So, yeah, that's a no from me. The odd Mirror Universe episode here and there, no problem. I kind of like it. I'm sorry for my pug snoring. Oh God, I forgot about Boimler's double getting drafted into Section 31. So that means this season's plot twist might be Section 31 is behind the quantum fissures. Dear God. Yeah, probably. That Boimler has to come back, honestly. It's an interesting idea. And I think Mike McMahon is somebody that knows Star Trek. Him and Aaron Waldke from Prodigy know Star Trek well enough that they could make a good Section 31 story. The Section 31 movie we're getting in January, nobody asked for it. Nobody wants it. Nobody cares. And it looks fucking stupid. The trailer's awful. But the last shot of the duplicate Boimler on a Defiant class ship in Section 31 was freaking awesome. And yes, I think it needs to come back this season. It does open up a lot of story potential, but then you're diving into the Section 31 thing, which is kind of stupid. They even pointed out in Lower Decks the Section 31 was kind of stupid with the black badges and stuff. So Mike McMahon's aware, and he knows what the fans like, because he is himself a fan. So he's not going to do something incredibly stupid just for the sake of it. So Hitchcock, making Section 31 a sub-branch or level of Starfleet intelligence was a mistake. The idea of a group that is what Sloan describes and exists in a state of is behind. exists in a state of cognitive dissidence. Yeah. Paul Hitchcock, protecting the Federation while betraying the ideals is interesting in small doses. Exactly, in small doses. Trek or not, too much of something makes it less of a treat regarding Mirror Universe, etc. 100%. BJ says, I'm tired of Mirror Universe along with Section 31. Mirror Universe is fun as a sandbox, but it makes no logical sense. You're absolutely right. And we brought that up multiple times too. If it is such a cutthroat, ruthless fucking dimension or realm or universe or whatever, there's no way you'd have the same people in almost the same positions because their parents were probably assassinated, maybe before they were even born. So therefore, they wouldn't exist. There's no way that you'd have the same development, even in ship design, because the ship designers, the ones that made the simple choice of putting the saucer on the top instead of maybe like a neck going down from the secondary hull, might not have existed. So the ship designs being the same, everything being the same, doesn't work for me. It just doesn't make sense logically. So yeah, that's the problem with the Mirror Universe. As a one-off thing, it's fun. But when you start to actually analyze it and dive into why things are so similar, why the same people are teamed up, it doesn't make sense. You wouldn't have the same crew on the same of a ship of the same name. You just wouldn't, because if you get promoted through assassinations and deal making and stuff like that, there's so many people that would be dead before they had any offspring, which means we never would have got to the point where there was these people in the future. So yeah, it just doesn't work for me. Sorry. It just doesn't. Trek or not, what if confident Tash Boimler is Mirror Boimler? Mariner thinks to seem different. Sam brought something up like that today when we were reviewing this episode for our edited review tomorrow. Saying it doesn't make sense that he's not afraid of death or not afraid of, whatever. And I'm like, it does though, because all it takes is one small change. You need to make up your mind that you want to change and be a better person, and you can overcome those things. But even Mariner referred to like the last episode where it's like, you were freaked out about skiing, and now you're like tangling with Klingons. Sam made a good point saying if somebody's trying to access these different realities, different dimensions through these fissures, could it be that parts of other Boimler are leaking onto our Boimler's personality, so he's getting more confident while these rifts are open, stuff like that? You could definitely tie something in and make a story out of that. I don't think that's the case necessarily, but it's an interesting idea. My thought is this maybe isn't our Boimler. This is the transporter clone Section 31 officer they've kidnapped Boimler and they've actually replaced him because they need the Cerritos for a specific reason. I don't know. But then again, that story is kind of stupid too. So I don't know. I in Mike McMahon, I trust. Let's put it that way. Paul Hitchcock, what is needed is the following: Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, The Search for Lorca. Indeed. Mike H., Tales of the Daystrom Institute, where we get the backstory of all the evil AIs. I wouldn't care. It just becomes an anthology thing at that point. It's like, I wouldn't personally be interested in that, but it's an interesting enough idea. I just personally wouldn't be on board with that. I like the idea of a Star Trek anthology series that is like either Star Trek What If different decisions were made, much like the Marvel What If comic book series and now the show. Or, like I said, an anthology series, maybe CG animated, where every episode is a different era. One is a TOS era, one jumps to post-Nemesis, one jumps back to Enterprise era, the next one jumps to the Lost era. And it's different stories, different ships, different characters. They don't have to tie together, or there's one overarching story that this piece of this one story kind of touches somebody in the episode's life, and it culminates in something. I would love to see that, and that would be that'd be a really good idea. You know the crew, you know the ship for an hour. Next episode, it's a totally different crew, different era, different ship. No tie, or it doesn't seem like there's a connection. And then maybe the last couple episodes, you realize that yes, this all the episodes you've seen, the varied times, very varied eras, all tie together somehow. One small decision that a character made impacted somebody else down the road, and that character made that decision because of something that happened way before. I like that. I think that'd be interesting. Plus, you could see TOS era. You could see all the different eras, and each week is something new and different. I think that's interesting. Would they do it? Probably not. But anyway. Terrence Child, Section 31 is the CIA, United States Secret Service, the FBI, and the NSA. Trek or not, Quantum Leap Star Trek, a Starfleet officer leaping back into key people throughout history due to an early temporal drive incident. Maybe Daniels? How he ended up moving through time so much. Something like that, yeah. Maybe. Scott Bakula plays the main character. He gets jumping into other people's bodies in different eras. That'd be great. Oh boy. But you know what I mean? Like, an anthology series like that would be interesting. I can see why they wouldn't do it, because it's not going to attract a new audience necessarily. There's a lot of reasons not to do it, but there's also a lot of reasons to do it for the core fans, right? So, I don't know. Of course, those characters then exist in the world. You can bring them back in future episodes or future seasons. With it CG animated, you can make them younger in the following season, or you can make them older, much older. It would be interesting. It'd be interesting to kind of follow their lives, but not every episode. And two, with that anthology idea, you could do that. You could have an episode that's all on board a Klingon ship, or all on Romulus. You know, I don't know. There's a lot of potential with the overarching plot of this season of Lower Decks with the temporal fissures, or the not temporal fissures, but the alternate universe fissures. Mike H. Instead of Daniels, maybe a Riker acting as chef in multiple holo novels, etc. How about no to that? Yeah. So let me know in the chat, guys, if you guys liked this episode. Which was your favorite part, the Klingon part or the Miglamo part? Miglamo part really didn't do much for me. The Klingon part I enjoyed, though. And I'm not one to that. I'm actually one that doesn't really enjoy like heavy Klingon-centric episodes where we're learning about the Klingon culture. It kind of bores me. This one kept me intrigued, which I would normally, if I knew the premise of this episode going in, I would have been like, oh, I'm probably not going to enjoy that, like, at all. But I did. It was really good. And I know Fleet Poe would really love it, because he's very much into the Klingon culture and stuff. And I know hasn't been feeling well, and he hadn't seen it earlier when I talked to him. So hopefully he's seen it by now. I saw he just arrived. So hello, welcome, Fleet Paw. How you doing? Fleet Paw, see, $2. Lay fears aside, Fleet Paw's here for the ride. Are you going to come up with a new one every time you come in now? Is that the thing? And then one day just go back to never fear, Fleet Paw's here? What's happening? Generation Productions. Dan is here. Hey. Trek or not, it was good, but a tad rushed. Maybe a 7 out of 10. I'd give it a little higher than that. If you want to see my actual out of 10 rating, tune in tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our complete review and breakdown of the episode scene by scene, where we discuss it all in detail and we give our final scores and opinions on it. Join us for that. Edited review will be out earlier in the day, probably around 1 or 2 p.m. I think this one's pretty good. Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. Donnie, hello Cap and all. Hope everyone is well this evening. I began watching an all-new Lower Decks. Chris Bruce, loved the look into Klingon society outside of the warrior class. 100%. Like I said earlier in this live, I think back to the Enterprise episode where Archer is on trial. He's got a Klingon lawyer played by J.G. Hirschler. And the lawyer says to him, "You don't think we're all warriors, do you? There's farmers, there's lawyers, it makes sense. You couldn't have a culture otherwise, right?" So yeah, it was great to see more aspects of the Klingon culture. And learn more about Kalis. Walking through the thorns, using the thorns to kill Feklar. That's great. Yes, I know about the Thorn murders. And then also the reference to Kalis at the end with the brother being crushed by the tusks. I can see Kalis. Not the new one, the original one. The one that did impressions. It's hilarious. Good stuff. Good stuff, Lower Decks. Yeah, just depending on how I'm feeling. Perfect. Paul Hitchcock, TNG alternate universe stories where the danger level of the universe is determined by the condition of Riker's beard. Fleetpaw, I actually have not seen it yet. Was traveling to Syracuse for Star Trek New Jersey. Well, you're not feeling well. That's gotta suck. This one you'll really like. It's Klingon-centric. BJ says, I give it a 10 out of 10 for a Lower Decks episode. It's one of the best. Really loved it. One of the best. It's in the upper half of the best episodes, sure, but it's not one of the best in my opinion. Seymour non-warrior part is what made it good. The Klingon farm. Yeah, and the bikers. Klingon bikers. I wish on you beige, or whatever he said. I can't remember. Well, beige on you too. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I really did. I didn't think I would. Like I said, the Miglimo story was I really wish that Tendi and Rutherford would have had a bigger part in that. It's cool to get to know Miglimo and kind of see a little bit of his culture, but anyway. Fleetpaw, if anyone will be at Star Trek New Jersey, be sure to say hi. Yes, is that this weekend? I guess that's this weekend, so see him there. Chris Bruce, I did skip past the Miglimo side plot, was not really interested in it. Don't skip shit. Oh my god. I don't understand how people can skip things. Sorry, Chris. Chris, yeah. Just watch it. There's always good little nuggets in those scenes. I don't understand the mentality of skipping episodes of a series when you're watching it, or certain story elements in an episode. I just don't understand. I don't know how you can skip things. It just doesn't make sense. It's part of the journey, good or bad. Don't skip it. Get up and go to the washroom. Get up and go get yourself a drink during scenes that you know are coming that you not really enjoy too much. Plus, as you get older, you tend to have a new appreciation for stuff like that. Maybe see something in it you didn't see before. I don't know. Sorry. I don't understand skipping any kind of media. I think it's funny tonight. Before doing this live, Pluto TV has a Star Trek: The Next Generation channel. Me and Sylvia were watching it, and we watched Sub Rosa, which I hadn't seen in years. Yeah, and then we watched Lower Decks, like not the series Lower Decks, the episode of TNG Lower Decks, which is really great, which is one of Mike McMahon's favorites, hence the show Lower Decks. Because you watch the episode of TNG Lower Decks now, and it's like, yeah, I can see where Mike got inspiration from for sure. It's really good. I don't know where I was going with that point that we watched those. Oh, Sub Rosa, yeah. Probably considered one of the worst episodes of Star Trek TNG. It's not that bad. There's some interesting. You get to see, like, the weather control thing that they're tapping power into from the Enterprise, the screen with the swirling. It's fucking cool. Small little things like that if you skipped it, you'd miss, but were quite enjoyable. Fog on the bridge of the Enterprise. What? Yeah, problem with the climate control system. It's fun little moments like that are kind of why I don't skip things. I won't skip an entire episode of anything. Even episodes I know I hate. Because who knows? Who knows what you'll see? Who knows what you'll notice that you didn't notice before? Who knows what kind of appreciation you get for it? People worked hard on that episode, not only to write it, but then to film it, act in it, edit it. People worked hard on it, and I think it's disrespectful to just skip things. Sorry, I don't mean to harp on about it, but it's a mentality I've never understood. Sorry. I will go back. I was watching it in short amount from time before class this morning, so I'm due for the rewatch. Okay, I was just really interested in the Klingons this one. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Sorry. Just ignore the last couple minutes of me rambling. It's backwards. Sorry, I need this right now, so. Hold on a second. Why is this overlooked? In case you're wondering, it's this that I was talking about. The Hallmark Enterprise thing from last year. It was unplugged because Sam, when he was here for Star Trek Vegas, stayed in the room, and I always have it on this setting, which is just the lights.
Captain's log, stardate 1709.2. Patrolling outposts guarding the neutral zone between planets Romulus and Remus.
I hate that flashes with this voice.
Received emergency call from Outpost 4. The USS Enterprise is moving to investigate and assist.
So I can't really get it much closer as far as the cord will stretch.
Lieutenant Uhura, how did all these tribbles get on the bridge?
I don't know, sir. They do seem to be all over the ship.
Well, don't look at me. It's the tribbles who are breeding. If we don't get them off the ship, we're going to be hip deep in them. Explain that. Well, the nearest thing I can figure out is that they're born pregnant, which seems to be quite a time set.
I know. And from my observations, it seems they're bisexual, reproducing at will.
Brother, they got a lot of will.
A lot of will. A lot of really great episode quotes on that. Ooh, so pretty. I'm currently painting some Odyssey class. So somebody sent me this. Don't know if you remember, but Star Trek Online had a print your own ship option. I forget what the store was called. Anyway, so we ordered his ship, and he got this one instead, which is not the name of his ship. It's not the registry number. It's not the color scheme. And he tried to contact them, saying that they sent him somebody else's ship. But he couldn't find... They said just keep it, essentially, which makes sense. But anyway, yeah, so we're talking about Odyssey class, and there you go. I kind of like the color scheme on this one, and those weird nacelle ends, but it's a cool looking ship. So I don't know, sidetracked, sorry. I'm tired. Had a long day. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so anyhow. So what'd you guys think of the episode? Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It's going to be upper middle tier for me as far as scoring goes for all of Lower Decks. Even it was a really good Lower Decks episode. I wish there was more about the fissures. I think that's a more interesting story, but it is what it is, right? So Enterprise F3D prints that I got. Ooh, yeah, I tried to get them to print a Kelvin, and mine is saucer detachable. Nice. Fleet Paw, the color scheme kind of makes it look like a Jem'Hadar bug ship. Kind of, except it's a blue, not a purple. It's kind of hard to tell in this light, I know, but... Chris Bruce says, for me, as I watched, solid 8. Yeah, I think... I don't give scores on these first reactions because I like to talk about it with you guys during a 2-hour live and with Sam. My score is going to be around that area. I usually don't think about a score until the next day anyway. I've seen it 3 times now. Watched it once for the review we did. Then I watched it again to get subtitles. So I have all the dialogue for when we do a review. And then I had to watch it. Well, I didn't have to, but I wanted to watch it again with Sylvia after supper before doing this review. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Honestly, like I said, I wish Rutherford and Tendi had more to do. They weren't so sidelined, and I wish T'Lyn was in it. They just just randomly leave T'Lyn out of episodes. They did that last season as well. It's a bit of a shame because T'Lyn's a great character. So, but I think the Boimler stuff was good. The Mariner stuff was good. The Klingon stuff was fantastic. Freeman in the Megalimo part was good. I liked her, the way her character was. But Tendi and Rutherford just didn't get anything, which is a shame. So that's my take on that. Could it have been better? Maybe. They could have done 1 or 2 things a little differently. Could it have been worse? Absolutely. So it's fine. But I really love the outside POV of Klingons gave of how nuts the Federation is. Like, just wham bam, you're my friend now. Yep. The Ambassador class. It's such a great graphic. Anyway. Yeah, I'm feeling a little burnout now. Kind of powered my way through that first hour, and now I'm just kind of like burnt out. So if there's anything you guys want to talk about, let me know, and we will talk about it. But officially, we're here to talk about the episode, so officially, I liked it. There you go. It's that simple. Klingon farmers. Well, I thought Klingons, being a warrior race, they conquer to get other races to do the heavy work. I like mining, farming, and etc. Good point, Dan. And it's interesting because in Starfleet battles, that's just the case. Uh, Most of the engineering department in a Klingon ship has very poor radiation shielding, like a D7, and as a result, they have slaves working down in engineering. Of course, they have overseers, that keep an eye on things. And if there's ever a mutiny on a Klingon ship, the boom section of the D7 detaches, and they blow up the engineering section if there's a slave mutiny. So there is that aspect of it, but you can't. Being a warrior race is fine. You have to evolve to the point where you're all warriors, and you can't do that without having farmers and artists and lawyers and all the other things that go along with it. And there's no way that everybody's going to want to be a warrior. Yes, honor is probably important in all of the professions, and yes, they might have conquered different races or planets to have a farming community they don't have to put their resources into necessarily. They just take what they want. Absolutely. I'm sure the Klingons did that, especially in TOS. But that doesn't mean that there's no farms on Kronos. That's just fucking silly. What is it? Just one big military compound? It's not the Borg. It's not anything like that have evolved to that point. They're just Klingons. So there's a little bit of that going on, I'm sure, or there was early in their spacefaring days, but you would still always have people that wanted to carry on their family legacy and be farmer or be whatever, right? So it makes sense in that regard, and I have no problem with it, personally. They have to eat too. Someone has to feed the warriors. They also have science. Exactly. Fleetpaw, he needs food, guys. Who wants to send him food? Anybody can send me food. I'd be fine. That'd be great, but don't worry about it. Dan says, interesting. It is indeed, sir. It is indeed. Yes. BJ says, Klingons are the Mongolians. There be farmers and herders. A lot of great warrior cultures were also farmers, herders, and hunters. Yes, 100%. You can't become a spacefaring race without having all the other amenities. Rule of law. Like I said, that's where the lawyers come in, unfortunately. Scientists. You need people that are dedicated to science to be able to get your ships faster than light. You can't do that in a warrior culture. If you manage to steal a ship, maybe reverse engineer their technology or use their ship to conquer more ships to make a mismatched fleet. And eventually, maybe, it seems a little off to me, but I get it. I get why you'd say that, but that's not how most cultures would work. Sure, a large contingency of them might have been warriors, but you're always going to have ones back home that are doing the things that need to be done, right? And to get to that point where you can, if, let's say, a ship randomly crashed on their planet and it still worked and they got to space and then they got another ship that they didn't destroy, but they commandeered. And then they started getting space technology that way, which would advance their culture, but then you'd need people that could reverse engineer those technologies. So, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Slaves also have a tendency to revolt or poison stuff. Poison is not an honorable way to die. 100%. Generation Productions. Well, the one thing liked about the J.J. Abrams Klingons was the helmets. That was epic. Okay. The reason that J.J. Abrams put the helmets on was because of the genetic mutations that took place with the Klingons, that we had the smooth-headed Klingons. So in order to be more warrior-like and maintain the ridges, they had helmets which had the ridges, right? To look like Klingons, true Klingons. That was his thinking behind it, which is fine. The problem is, when you get to, I believe it was Martok that said it in Deep Space Nine, that true warriors don't hide behind masks. no Klingon warrior would wear a mask or a helmet and conceal their identity. It's very dishonorable. So now there could be factions of Klingons that honor is not the most important thing to them. So they might wear, or they might ornate themselves in that kind of armor. But yeah, JJ's reasoning was, I mean, the makeup for the JJ Klingons is actually pretty good. There's an interesting take on it. It was way better than fucking Discovery did. It were more subdued ridges, and their hair was kind of funky. It was weird. I don't know how to describe it. Kind of like almost like fins. It was weird. Look up a JJ Klingon from Into Darkness, and you'll on Google, and you'll see the images of the makeup, which you never really see that much in the movie. It was interesting, but yes, the reason was to maintain the ridges and their family, because every family has a different kind of ridge pattern, right? Like it kind of shows what family you belong to, house of whatever. And yes, because of the genetic modifications, which we can go into, it's a whole goddamn topic. Because there's the FASA reason, there's the Enterprise one, where they were trying to genetically augment themselves with the augment virus, and it backfired, and they became smooth-headed. FASA goes into it with, there were Klingons that looked like humans, there were Klingons that looked like Romulans, and then there were the Imperial Klingons that had the ridges. The ones that looked like humans were surgically altered to look human. So they're the ones that are in the D7s patrolling the Federation side of the border. So if they have to go into Federation space, do an incursion, they look more or less human, raise less suspicion. Plus, it doesn't show the true nature of what a Klingon is to an enemy, because the enemy looks like you. So on the Romulan border, there were Klingons that looked like Romulans for the same reasons. And then the Imperial Klingons were the ones back on Kronos and on the inner part of the Klingon Empire that had the ridges. And it was surgical modifications, not genetic. And surgically, when they either the war ended or when they went back home, they could get surgically modified to look like they did before. Hence why they look in Deep Space Nine like Kang and Kor and Koloth. They all look like true Klingons because they got fixed. They had plastic surgery, essentially. Now, Enterprise did the genetic thing, which is very interesting, and I kind of like it. And Discovery just, I don't fucking know what they did. They dumped their Klingons into a vat of acid and pulled it out and tried to clean off the acid, but that removed everything that was Klingon about them. I don't know. So anyway, it's a thing. I don't even know how we got on this topic. Oh, the JJ helmets, yeah. Chris Bruce, well, the Klingons were a sort of slave revolt themselves and to go to space, sort of like the Kazon, but the Klingons were smart enough to become more. I still love the Yorktown space station. To show it, to me, it showed just how mega Starfleet could design. It looks like a Christmas ornament that's about to shatter. I forget exactly what McCoy said about the Yorktown station, but Generation Productions, yeah, that is a story for another time that we do not discuss with outsiders. 100%. Because when Trials and Tribulations was made, there was an Enterprise, and they couldn't really use FASA lore because, again, as we talked about earlier in this live, they'd have to pay royalties for those ideas. So there was no real reason why there were smooth-headed Klingons in TOS, in universe anyway, and so that's why that line's in there. It's fucking hilarious either way. Even no matter what you want to believe about the smooth-headed Klingons, it's a good line. So whew. That was a rabbit hole I didn't expect to go down tonight. But yes, Romulan-looking Klingons. Hold on one second here. See if I can find the, yeah. Yeah. So, according to FASA, yeah. Now this says fusion, which implies to me that it might have been genetic. Maybe I was wrong in that regard. It wasn't surgical, it was genetic. But there, you've got the Imperial race, which are the Klingons you see in the motion picture. You've got the Romulan fusion, which are Klingons that look like Romulans. And then you got the human fusion ones, which they patrolled the Federation border. These guys patrolled the Romulan border. These guys were internal, true Klingons. And somebody drew this. So, TOS Klingons, good. This is better. And this is what the fuck. And that's the JJ Klingon right there, so. But yeah, that's the FASA reasoning for it, which is, I loved. And FASA and Starfleet battles and stuff like that, those were my Bibles for Star Trek growing up. That's the canon I know. That's the canon I respect. That's the canon I believe in. And then real canon has to come along and fuck it up. But it's fine. I hold no grudges. Hold on, I'm looking for something specific here, which I don't think I'm going to find. Okay, Dot. Yeah, I wanted to read you out the thing about the Imperial Klingons and the human fusions and the Romulan fusions, but I can't find it right now. Anyway, do some digging. If you have any old FASA material, check it out. Dig online. It's kind of hard to find that stuff online, but looks like a damn snow globe in space, just waiting to break. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Fleepa. Dan says, oh, well, we just had to cling on to this live stream. Hey, Captain Foley. Really? Very dishonorable dad joke. Fleetpaw. Ew, keep your dad jokes to yourself, Generation Productions. Donnie says, I give this week's new Lower Decks a 10 out of 10 as well. What a shock. Sorry, I thought it was a good day to dad joke. Wow. Donnie, I love the pre-2009 Klingons more than the ones from the Kelvin Timeline trilogy and the ones in Discovery. I love Strange New Worlds Klingons as well. Yeah, well, those are actual Klingons. What's wrong, Donnie? You want to go out? Just lay down. Relax. You're fine, sweetie. Chris Bruce, I grew up on the JJ movies and Deep Space Nine. I loved the last Cullen movie. Yeah, Beyond is the best of the three Cullen movies, hands down. Fleetpaw, it's never a good day to dad joke. Lose a battle, maybe lose a testicle, but never a dad joke. Really, Fleepaw? Trekyards is known for our dad jokes, especially from me. How dare you besmirch the name of Trekyards and the dad jokes? How very dishonorable of you, sir. I thought you were a man of honor and integrity. A warrior, if you will. That I have no fear when you're around because you're such a magnificent, honorable warrior. But I see I was mistaken. It's fine. A man of honor would have entered this very domicile, this specific room, and been like, wow, that's a lot of, what is that? That's really cool. Haven't seen one of those, but no. The honorless Patak walks in and goes, all right, let's move on. I don't know what it's supposed to say, Flipa. Anyway. Chris Bruce, what is that sort of snoring noise? Sort of sounds like a pig, sort of. It's a pug. Pig, pug, same thing. I got 2 pugs and a chihuahua behind the camera. That's what the snoring sound is. Welcome to my channel. Everyone knows about the snoring pugs here. Fleetpaw, I don't count. You can dad joke all you want. You don't count. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that I don't count. Pugs, pigs, same difference, yeah. This is what you're hearing. This is what I see. Got one there, one there. This is a snoring one right now. And then there's Dot, who's not feeling the best. And is acting kind of funny. To be fair, you don't count, you hate math. Fair enough. But yeah, that's what you're hearing. So I apologize for the ASMR white noise of pugs snoring, but it's just a thing that has to be tolerated on this channel and my personal channel as well. So deal with it. Anyway, guys, I'm getting fucking tired and I think I need to go to bed. So I really appreciate you all tuning in. Everybody that super chatted, thank you so much. It makes a huge difference. Even the small amounts, they all add up. You guys are fantastic. Love chatting with you guys. Some of these first reactions go for 2 hours. Some only go for an hour. I was done before the hour mark on this one. But I'm really trying to stretch it out and spend some time with you guys. Don't worry, I'll be back next Thursday. If you want to see our full review and breakdown, please tune in tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do all the things like subscribe, click the notification bell icon. I'm going to read the last comments that have come in here. Chris Bruce says, honestly, I've been watching for a while and it's cute. Just never been around when they are sleeping, I guess. Have a nice night. Well, thank you, Chris. Yeah, I recognize your name, so I'm surprised you didn't know about them. You even hear them in the back of some of the edited Trekyards content. Fleetpaw, there's a good one. The fat one and the dot. The dot and the good one are my favorites. BJ says good night. And Fleetpaw says the fat one gets jealous of really fast. Lola? Yeah, 100%. Fleetpaw's been here. He's met the dogs. He's held them. They're all fucking adorable. And so is Fleetpaw. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves an excellent night. Today is, in fact, a good day to not die, so please don't do that. But I want to say kapla to all of you. Honor to you and your house. And, yeah. Until next time, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Tune in to all of our content, especially tomorrow. And I'll see you then.